Hi, everyone. This is Marilyn Bradford, and I would like to welcome you to my Left Turn podcast. What is your left turn? Writing a blog, parenting in a different way, letting go of the old because you are aware of something greater. Left turns are choices we can all make. It's about a willingness to step into the unknown in any area of your life, to trust yourself, to risk creating or trying something new. It's about letting your true uniqueness shine. The greatest people who have lived, artists, statesmen, writers, explorers, musicians, have all been people willing to turn left. What capacities do you have that you have not acknowledged? What would your life and the world be like if you were willing to turn left? Welcome, everyone, to this edition of the Left Turn podcast. I have an extremely interesting and fun, phenomenal woman with me this morning. Rachel Silber is, I love this, a wonder and a wanderer, a facilitator and facilitator of possibilities, a speaker, author, change maker, friend, wife, and mom. I'm kind of wondering, is there anything she isn't? But we won't go there. She's been facilitating with Access Consciousness tools since 2011 and is grateful for every moment with the weird and wacky tools she loves so much. And this is great. Everything can change when we're ready to see what is and ask for what we'd like. What are the infinite possibilities? Welcome, Rachel. So glad you could join me this morning.
Hello, and thank you so much for inviting me. It's a treat.
Yeah, a treat for all of us, I believe. So what are some of the bigger left turns in your life?
Oh my God. I'd say just existing would probably be one of them. As everything in my life has been, oh, we think we're going one way, but no, watch this. So it's been an interesting adventure. We were just before we hit the record button. You're wondering about some of the left turns, and I said, well, it starts with who am I? I know I wrote those things in the bio explaining who I am, but in that there's so much space between the words. There's so much beyond, any definition, anything. I mean, that's in there. It's so limited in and of itself. And I was mentioning how people would ask me, where are you from? Or, what are you? Kind of a thing.
What are
and I'd be
you?
like, I have no fucking clue. I am sorry. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but no clue.
You're allowed to say whatever you'd like to say, Rachel.
Thank you. It's one of my favorite words. It slips out periodically. But I was born in Israel. I was born to Polish parents who are survivors of the Holocaust, both. And so that in and of itself was a left turn, just that they made it through, made it alive, made it to Israel, found one another, and I showed up in the world. Was a unique experience. And then we left Israel when I was 11, because almost 11, half of my mom's family was in the United States. So we joined them, the whole American dream thing, and we're going to provide better for our children, etc. And so I was raised in Houston, Texas for most of my life. I grew up in Texas, went to Bel Air High School and all of that good stuff. And it was great. And I went to school up north. I also wasn't counting on that. And got married, got divorced shortly thereafter. That was also a left turn. I wasn't expecting that. But then when I started to wonder and to become a little more independent in my life, I found an amazing Canadian friend who became husband later on, and together we moved around to different places, and we've been in Guatemala mostly for the last, oh my gosh, 18 years, something like that.
Why Guatemala?
That's a very good question. I didn't even know where Guatemala was on the map beforehand, but we had a business that was shifting and changing. We were in the jewelry business, and it changed from being wholesale to we were looking at doing manufacturing, and from a friend to a friend to a friend to a friend to finding someone who would work with us. We worked with someone in Florida who ended up being in Guatemala, and when they suggested that we get more involved on the manufacturing, and that's when we ended up here. And then that changed as well, and we've done other things since, including finding access, and everything's been my entire life has been a series of very interesting left turns is what I'm saying. But I don't fit into any profile. Like, I'm not a proper gringa. I'm not a proper, whatever Israeli. Because when I go to Israel, I remember even being a 16-year-old on the bus because I'd gone to visit my grandmother. My accent had become so Americanized that people were like yapping about me in the back in Hebrew, all that American, whatever. And I'm like, I understand everything that you're saying. I only left 5 years ago, but like, I didn't fit there, and I didn't fit in the United States. And I would tell my mom, maybe I'm a mermaid, except I'm afraid of the water, or, being in the depths, but I don't fit here and I don't fit there, and I don't fit anywhere. And come to find out after years of access, maybe that's being a humanoid. We're just different. We don't fit. We just flow, can't contain us.
Yes. So, gosh, tell me about facilitating.
That's a beautiful question. Facilitating for me, and I play with the words and I call it facilitating.
Yes, that's so I was thinking about that.
So facilitating is to make everything more ease. Like, how cool is that? That we get to have these tools, and I've read your book and it's brilliant, and it's about opening up a space for more ease in a situation where people judge themselves so harshly, right?
Yes.
And that to me is the gift of facilitating, to open up a space where we don't have to take ourselves so seriously, where we can say, okay, this has gone on, but I can actually make a different choice. Something else is available to me. And no, I don't have the totally like laughing out loud at things like we do in Dr. Dane Here's classes. He's like a walking, talking comedian, facilitator. I don't know if you go to a stand-up show or you go to, an access consciousness class with Dane, you get entertained and you get changed. It's absolutely phenomenal. So it isn't like that, but I do break out into song. I don't take myself seriously. I enjoy playing. And one of the hugest gifts that I've received from Access Consciousness, and I'm forever grateful, is the invitation to be me. And I actually write it on my hand. Every single morning, I write B.
Look at that.
On my hand. It's not a tattoo. I write B. And in the E, I remind myself ease, joy, and glory. To be myself and to be ease, joy, and glory. And the invitation that Access has been for me to relax into being myself and not get so worked up about what anyone else thinks of me, or what anyone else says or what anyone else does, is something that I be in any situation, whether it is an official class that I'm facilitating or hosting a bars exchange, wherever I am in the world, except Houston, because my parents' house isn't for that. But when I'm either in California or I'm here in Guatemala, I host weekly bars exchanges. So even that is a facilitation, because it is opening up a space for something different. Whenever I'm with people, I like to be the energy that invites them into something different and that allows them to be themselves as well. And some of that is like being around my daughter's friends and being in high school, when she was at a physical, like in-person high school, she's in a virtual school right now. But when she was in a physical school, I was offering bars sessions in the school. And
How
we would
cool is
go,
that?
yeah.
Wow.
So I
Yeah.
would go with my zero gravity chair and I would park myself in their common area for the 10th grade. And sometimes the chair would be empty, and sometimes I'd have, one after the other of kids, and sometimes the teachers as well was always on offer and always available for them to choose to show up and to receive. And you could see the difference. And that to me might not be a class, but it's facilitating.
Oh, it is. Oh, yeah. Facilitating is not limited to classes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Listening to you in these, in the podcasts, reading your insights in the book, and in everything that I've heard, even in classes that we've both been in, and you get up to the microphone and you ask a question, you facilitate all the rest of us constantly.
Oh,
And you're welcome. It's been a huge gift. We were in Simone's membership, Simone Melistus's membership for a long time together. And I relished being able to read your comments or listen to the questions, because I am so curious that I'd like to know about everybody's perspective on so many different things.
That's why I started the Left Turn podcast. It's like, I see these people in classes, I see you, but I don't know anything about you. And I know that many of the people in Access are just brilliant and different and creative and wonderful. And it's been a great journey for me to learn about different people and, their talents and abilities. I do have another question. Because you were talking about being, like in a class, if someone said to you, what is being? How do I know if I'm being? Because I get that sometimes. I would love to hear what you say or how you talk about it.
I'd actually say, I wonder, like, when was the last time that you really, like, that's a question that you don't have a 1, 2, 3 sort of answer to. It's not like, oh, when I wake up in the morning and I have a smile on my face, I'm being me.
Yes,
Maybe, maybe sometimes that's the case. And sometimes that's not necessarily the case. It's like whatever else is up in the world. But I remember being at a BU certified facilitator training in, was it in Puerto Vallarta? And I'd asked the taxi driver that question. And the entire taxi ride, like 35 minutes to get to wherever we were going, we were asking and talking and wondering. It's a wondering. Being you is an adventure, not a destination.
I love
It's
that.
the
Yes.
journey. It's the path. It's the exploration. It's sometimes left turns, sometimes right turns, sometimes up, sometimes downs. It's all of it. And it's your approach and your openness to exploring and actually being present with that and wondering, what is being me like today, right now, in these 10 seconds? Because it might not be the same tomorrow.
Right.
You might be more relaxed into being. One of the things that I so perceive in Gary Douglas, the founder of Access, for example, is that immense space and allowance that he is, that's so willing to be aware and so willing to be expansive and so fluid and soft in a way, yet strong when need be. But that spaciousness to me is also part of being. But he doesn't sit there and question himself. But if something pokes and like, oh, that, you got information. Oh, maybe not in that direction. Maybe I look somewhere else. Or maybe if something's really poking me, then I've got to look at, where have I ever been there and done that? What points of views do I have that I could shift and change that would allow something else to show up and be different?
Thank you. That is one of the best discussions of being I think I've ever heard. And just the whole idea of wonder and wondering, and it's not solid. It's not
No,
set in
it's
stone. There is no Rachel and no Marilyn. That's,
no
that's
at all.
solid.
It's actually, that crazy phrase that we have in access
Yes.
consciousness.
Yeah.
It is one of my favorite tools, other than, being all of life comes to us with ease, joy, and glory. Everything is the opposite of what it appears to be, and nothing is the opposite of what it appears to be. If you look at that, I know we call it the crazy phrase, but to me, it seems the most sane thing in the world because it's looking at the space and the thing that we think is solid. It's
Yes.
looking at the fluidity and the significance. It's looking at everything and it's saying, there is more to the universe than meets the eyes.
Yes.
There is more out here than anything you've ever known. So yes, you perceive, you be, you receive as an infinite being, and that's phenomenal. And if you know not what you think you know, what else is possible there? What else could you perceive? What else could you receive from? If you didn't judge something as this is terrible, would you then be able to find the gifts that are inherent and possibly hidden in it?
Yes.
That would lead to a left turn,
Yeah.
right? If you'd be willing, you can see so much more because we're not the stories, we're not the countries that we're from or the religions that we're from. We are that too, yes, but we are more than that.
Oh,
And
yes.
not to disavow it either, because that's been my challenge this last year. And it's actually interesting. Tomorrow's October 7th.
Mhm.
And last year on October 7th was one of the scariest days and since in my adult life. Things that, being the child of survivors of the Holocaust,
Yes.
I was told this will never happen again. And here I am, having to be a mom, showing my kids, okay, you might want to apply to universities that don't have stuff like the hate that we see out there being allowed
Yes.
to be out there so aggressively and loudly and viciously. Maybe those are not the places where you'd like to be. So it isn't about, I am just an infinite being and I'm going to throw this away. It's, I'm going to allow these flavors, these experiences, these choices, because
Mhm.
I chose to come as a woman in this lifetime. I know I've been a guy in other lifetimes, but right now, I'm
Yeah.
rocking this little body, and I came from Israel and I was born, to survivors of the Holocaust. Who knows? Might have been a Nazi in a previous lifetime, whatever, but the thing that's interesting to me is that we can enjoy the flavors. We can receive from everything that we've experienced before. Whatever we've had. I was diagnosed as bipolar, for example, when I even forgot to mention that as a left turn thing. That defined my
Yes.
college experience. My senior year of college, I probably spent about 20 hours asleep because I was medicated so strongly.
Oh,
Um, and then for about 15 years afterwards, I was in therapy and I was on so many different Zoloft and Wellbutrin and Prozac and you name it, whatever was available at that time, I was on it. But that's because I didn't see the gift in
yes.
having awareness or experiences. Prior to access, I would have bet that I'm not aware at all. And
Yes.
come to find out that a lot of all of this, the choices that I made and all of that were related to awareness, really,
Yes.
for,
Yes.
awareness.
Following what you know to be true for you,
Yeah.
which is very clear. That's what
Yeah.
you've done and do and all of that. Well, thank you very much, Rachel. This was really fun and interesting. And
Thank you.
I know that we'll be sending this out with ways that people can contact you and get more of this wonderful wondering about life.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate you being here and inviting me and creating this space where different voices can come out and tingle and invite and show people that there are spaces of possibilities available and they really can live life with ease and joy and glory if they so choose.
Yes. Thank you so much for joining this episode of Left Turn. I wonder what embracing left turns could create in your life. What magical possibilities might show up. Remember, when you choose left turns, you are joining a group of the most creative and brilliant people the world has ever known.